are going to see his Rise banned away. That's actually been hitting the ban table a lot so far. Top really don't want to allow this one through, and they do take the Skarner as that last ban. So we've lost a lot of those top tier of the first pickups that we really like to see. I wonder if something like the Ashe might end up coming through, or if you still just want to be picking up junglers early on.
Here's the question, though. Do you really want to put leave on Ashe the way this guy's playing? I guess the answer for
I'm
is
sure
no.
he could make it seem insane, too.
Jace, though, going to be locked in here. Is flexible between Shanji and Doinb. Top Esports really want to commit to a pretty staple bottom lane. Poke lane, very oppressive for JackeyLove and Crisp.
And works good into Shanji having this Jace, because you can just poke back once you get into these team fights. You're not necessarily going to be outpoked constantly by the Jace through those accelerated shock blasts. But if you are going to play around a more aggressive top lane, that means potentially you want to have your bot lane be a little bit chill, a little bit further back, because this isn't chill as a jungler. I was wondering at what point we were going to begin to see...
Here we go, scaling.
Ooh, okay. It's actually going to be Doinb picking up onto this Jace. And it's going to be the Renekton in the top lane. Now, I like this more. I think this is more the way that you should be playing this one out. It makes your team fights a little bit easier, and having the Jace in the mid lane means he's much more free to roam around to these different objectives, although early objectives haven't really been either of these teams' primary focus so far.
Renekton, though, for Shanji, with the other members of this comp, I do want to see somebody that can kind of follow up with him. You know, Renekton's all about the flanks, popping the dominance, diving in. With Aki and this Jace for Doinb, you're definitely trying to spread out the fight. So we'll see how that. Honestly, both these top laners fit into these comps, because you need a little bit. You need some dive buddies for these two guys, right? Because Gnar and Renekton, they're flying into the comp. So where is that going to come from? For NIP, it's a bigger question, because you still have to pick your AD carry, and that does not solve the Renekton problem.
No, not unless you decide to revive the Kai'Sa, something you obviously can't do in this best of 5 Fearless, and go diving in alongside it. Most other ADCs really don't want to go jumping in with the Renekton. I think you're going to have to pull it through the support. Now, we've seen the Rel already, so that one's off the table. You've already got things like the Nautilus band out, so we're really running out of those dive buddy supports that really like to play this one out. I mean, we got to see some Rakan, we saw some Pantheon in a previous game. That could be something a little bit interesting. I don't know, it feels a little bit odd to have drafted yourself these specific pairings, but also NIP have been very much like this. They've been drafting themselves odder compositions pretty much throughout the entire split, and they've been making it work so far. I'm going to have the benefit of the doubt early on from me. Not surprised that we're seeing NIP right here take away a couple more junglers. Make sure Kanavi can't get himself something he's super comfortable on, but he's still got a couple of good pickups available to him at this point. With the Jinzhou taken, I think that's... yeah.
There's the Viego you called out, so
yeah,
we'll see.
It leaves the Viego.
This is a good spot to play from alongside the Gnar. I like this a lot more, but it does make Kanavi the central point for this game whenever you pick the Viego. So, and for a guy who has looked shaky in this series, it's a lot of pressure on Kanavi.
It really is, but then again, we've seen him be able to pick it up, make it work. Is this going to be a Senna?
Wow.
Wait, what are you pairing
Senna
with
Ornn,
here?
yeah. I mean, this...
Or the Scion. I'm actually happy with either of those in this situation.
This is the big point,
Ornn.
though, right? As we see this comp framed out. For NIP, across the 2 games, Leave has been far and away the biggest performer. You have now completely neutered it. He's playing Senna. He's playing support Senna. You cannot rely on Leave to carry you through or bail you out in this game. That is huge for NIP.
It really is, and it's surprising, right? Because, as you said, he's been that main guy. Who are you really playing for on this one? And it's going to be the chicken in the mid lane for Creme as well. And these are 2 very, very diametrically opposed kinds of compositions right here.
There's decent amount of poke and range on both sides, but besides that, yeah, you're playing to kind of survive and sustain through a fight of NIP. They're trying to just oppose the possession. That's what they've drafted for, which I do like when framing these 2 teams going into the game. But again, you're taking you're taking control out of your most confident player right now for NIP. If there's any game for Doinb to step up and be huge, it's got to be now.
And once again, momentum is going to be a huge part of this series. It's an elimination match. This is the lower bracket. No more second chances after you lose out onto this matchup. Do or die right here. Obviously, it's not going to be match point yet. So you do still have one more if you lose this one, but you don't want to put yourself in that position whatsoever. With these very interesting compositions, it's going to be massively on these junglers once again to try to drive their teams through this early game and get them in a good spot once they get into the mid game.
Another difference here compared to the series. First game, we feel like JackeyLove is going to have enough space to cook. He's not going to worry about the Zai game, the Varus game. He outranges everybody except a Shock Blast from Doinby in this one. So JackeyLove, a guy we talked about going into the series, looked like he was back to older form in TES's other days, or just in former days. This is the game for him to step up. This is the game, Bloxer, for the superstars hyped up in this matchup to bring it home when they need it most. Game 3, match point on the line for one of our two teams as we head to Summer's Rift.
Alrighty, let's see if we're going to get some more lane-based shenanigans as we have done previously. Indeed, nobody's heading where you would usually expect for them to be. In fact, we are actually going to get a little bit of a split right here. I like that early ward going down from Doinby. Just spots out what's going on. TS are at least going to be able to clear that vision out, and they're going to know that at least everybody from NIP isn't here, but they aren't fully certain on where the rest of the team is. They can make a good, educated guess, though. Yeah, a little bit of warding gonna help out. And so, as much as there could have been some early shenanigans, I don't think we're actually going to see something too interesting at this point into the game. Where we end up with our bot lanes going, though, is going to be a big part of this. Now, you highlighted it.
Have a bottom lane.
Yeah.
Leave. This is support center, right? Leave might just traverse all these lanes. Like, we may have 2 top lanes.
You don't need to sit alongside your support in a specific lane as this center. You know, you can float around, absolutely. And on top of that, usually your support would then either have to roam around or kind of just be left by yourself, sat in the bot lane. Well, your support is actually a top lane. ppgod is fine. He really doesn't mind just being left alone to farm up what he can, or to just get poked out, allow JackeyLove and Crisp to have free roam of this lane. They were likely going to be able to have that anyway because of the poke associated with this combo, and the fact that in a range versus melee matchup, it wasn't really going to go in your favor as NIP. But that being said, you do have yourself this Zyra. Now, it's very strong at the moment, if you can get ahead, but I've seen far too many Zyras recently get themselves into a real muddle throughout the early game, not try to gank, just kind of sit and farm, and it can work, but you've then got to land a big ulti in your next big skirmish, and they don't always manage to do that, and at that point you can begin to fall behind. Aki has had a passive game that didn't work out for him in the previous one. I don't want to see a repeat of that.
ppgod understands the Scion assignment, even if he is a support player right now. My life does not matter. I am a nuisance, and he's definitely slowing down Kanavi's clear.
Steals
stole
by a
away
lot.
one of those Krugs as well. And like you mentioned, this does bode well for Aki if he just wants to farm up and wait to be a menace by this point. As wacky as these lanes assignments we get, this is going to put Shanji and Aki in a pretty powerful position.
Yes.
In a game where scaling is as important as it's been across all 3 games.
Exactly, because you're now not ruining the lane of your top laner as you would usually in this lane swap. This would usually be Shanji on this Renekton having a miserable time, falling behind. Oh, that's terrible. But no, it's your support, and unfortunately, in this context, supports really don't matter, not in the same way. You're unlocking Shanji to be able to sit in this lane by himself, farm up with no pressure being put on him at all, and you're sharing so much XP right now as TES. There are champions sharing all the time. ppgod's gonna die here, but he doesn't care.
I think he just wants the farm.
Yeah.
Alright, drop, gives the kill over to 369. Let me gobble up.
Doesn't matter.
That's the Scion way, baby.
Baus would be proud in this situation, and for good reason, right? Because this is exactly the early game that you wanted as NIP. If you have, I don't know, come out of a coma recently and haven't watched the last year or 2 of League of Legends, this is probably very weird for you to be watching. And it is, but this is the current state of things, right? Where you just say, hey, lane assignments. Wait, what are those? Huh? Who? And just move your champions around because you're just trying to put as much power right now into a couple specific champions. Shanji, Aki, and Doinby's also having a pretty good time too.
You can see Shanji at the top of the experience levels. This is, I do like this for TES because, hold on here, that's a 1v1 going down here, but
now this would
my
matter.
Friend, it was never a 1v1. Good dodge on the stun, we'll get out here.
Yeah.
What I want to emphasize if there's any AD carry that's going to match up against the top laner and be comfortable, it's going to be Ezreal. So I love that JackeyLove's the one that is following Shanji.
Exactly. The Ezreal can sit so far back, it can poke so effectively, really is going to have a much easier time of this overall. Now, Aki is going to be heading on towards this bottom lane, and I think 369 might be in a little bit of trouble.
Does have both summoners available. Going to try double hop. Great strangle roots, though. Forces 369 to at least commit the flash. Good summoner to get off of the TES top laner. They'll start taking some plates.
Yeah, and that's the main thing right here. It's not necessarily getting the kill, although that would be nice. It's about how much pressure you can accumulate for yourself at this point into the game. I think it's also going to be a turn onto the Drake, although no, the teleport's going to dissuade that.
Oh, Aki's still here. They're coming back. They have got 4 members strong. 369 with no flash. Chris here trying to provide the shields, but Aki flashes forward the strangle roots to get the lockdown to 369. Chris gets back under the turret. Joyby took a ton of damage
now
from
Chris
the ramped up turret, but 369 is down. Chris flashing away from the root onto Senna, but that turret is not safe for you to return to, my friend. NIP playing the bot side of the map aggressive.
They really are, and this is exactly what I wanted to see. Aggression out of Aki. Make that gank work. Arrive once, get the flash, arrive a second time, get the kill. Ton of turret plating going on. And now 369 just going to have to limp his way back down into this lane. Now, because you lose quite a lot of health off of that dive, you do now have to concede the Drake. Not the end of the world. You know, it's not exactly the most important Drake.
JackeyLove. He hit every single spell.
Yup. Shanji just getting poked out fully here. That will actually delay things for NIP quite a lot. They would have liked to have been able to get a little bit of control in that lane, push out and go ahead and head towards these grubs. Still going to be able to get on top of them, but there may now be a response in a way that they couldn't have had previously if JackeyLove hadn't have played it as well as he did.
It does make this grub take a little bit more treacherous for Aki, even on the Zyra that can burn through it. Good thing for him, though, is that JackeyLove is out of mana, and boy, are the fruits really this worth it, JackeyLove? You're in between 2 enemy combatants right now. Luckily, Crisp is here, and Kanavi is going in for the killer blow to Aki. That's a huge possession to find. And now ppgod, he may have been fine dying before, but it's not worth it now. Feats of Warfare over to TES as we get a double kill for Kanavi.
Apparently, the fruits are well worth it in this situation. It looked a little bit risky from JackeyLove to be stepping up that far, but he knew that he had the friends on the way over. Leave now also getting jumped right here. Crisp isn't going to deal the damage, but there are others waiting in the wings. We finally also get to see the top laners decide to fight. Hang on, this fight just hasn't stopped. What?
Flashes forward, gets the Q. JackeyLove finds the kill, but he's a little far forward up here now with Joinby in the face. But a true shot barrage is more than enough damage for JackeyLove to find himself a double. Again, when he thought he was certainly dead, somehow him and TES come out on top.
Hey, it turns out when JackeyLove has a hypermobile champion that isn't constantly getting jumped by everybody on NIP, he's able to play these ones out far more effectively, and I love the aggression he's exhibited so far in this game, showing up in the same sort of way that Leave did game 1 on the Kai'Sa, jumping forwards, making his presence known, and helping his team to a significant advantage already.
We'll look back here and see how we found ourselves in another fight.
JackeyLove's just free hitting.
He's the highest level champion in this entire replay.
He's got level 6. Nobody else bar Creme has it. And those are both champions on TES right here. And he's this low already after getting attacked to start this fight. And it just doesn't matter. 369 gonna attempt to chase down ppgod. This is again not gonna be worth a death.
Gameplay. It's so fun and interactive. Alright, he flashes out.
He lives. He lives, at least. And this is what NIP want, right? You're getting chased to top lane, so you know you've got at least a little bit of a space towards the bottom lane. JackeyLove gets caught here.
Arcade shift, but it's the flash forward to get
dead.
Cole the Meek stun. JackeyLove for all the heroic plays early. One mistake opens the door for NIP.
And NIP, they are just keeping up the pressure in this game. As much as they have fallen behind in terms of overall gold, they're going to be able to swing it back in their favor quite heavily right now. This, if they're able to pick up this tower nice and quickly, that'd be a great feat to grab. The second wave is going to be necessary, and I don't know if they're quite going to be able to do this one. We might get a skirmish in the river. Around what? I'm not entirely sure.
A scuttle crab, of course, the most valuable thing in League of Legends. Nope, everyone's going to settle back down.
Good, good. Everybody was posturing quite aggressively in that situation. There's still 2 minutes until the next Drake, but the grub That last grub was never taken, so I actually don't think we're on the way to the next set of grubs spawning at all.
Lonely grub.
Yeah, poor guy just sort of sat there by himself.
Watch his friends die.
It's actually quite devastating. You know, justice for the grubs. But, no, I think right now, 369, he's at least warding onto that grub. I was wondering if he was just going to go take it by himself, but he'd lose quite a lot of push to try to do that. Now, will NIP hard force down through this bottom lane and try to pick themselves up this first tower? Because you are not too close in terms of picking up the next feat from these objectives, so grabbing it off of the tower brick would be a real nice way of being able to even things up a little bit more.
Good call. Because in the series, we've had very clear and defined feats of strength secures. Nobody was really close to losing it when they were ahead in that early phase. But looking back towards what we talked about in this draft, right? Especially for top esports who have been really shaky. We marked this game as the superstars' time to step up, and through this early game, all the kills on those two superstars, Kanavi and JackeyLove.
Yep.
Question is, can they carry it through without any mistakes that we saw when they led last time?
Yeah, we are not gonna put all of our eggs into that basket once again. Saw how that went in the previous game, but the stars in these most pressurized matchups, in these big star shining games, this is when you really need to see them step up. So far, so good. We're only 10 minutes, 11 minutes into this game. It's very, very quiet early on, likely to lead us to a voracious Atakan, and we've seen just how tempting that buff is. Everybody loves to be able to pick it up, and what you can do with it is so strong. Let's see if we get that one indeed. Right now, though, we've got just a couple seconds until the next Drake is going to spawn, and both bot lanes are down in this bottom side area. 369 actually going to teleport top side. Shanji does have the teleport to head his way back down bot if he really wanted to. The tower just going to keep on living. It is hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, that plate's not going to last too much longer to keep it up, but JackeyLove going to commit his entire mana pool to do so. Kanavi has a front row seat to Aki and his plants, taking down this dragon. Maybe looking for a potential 50-50. Going to use the Shroud to come in now. Teleport coming behind NIP to give them a bit of a man advantage. We're going to 50-50 this smite. It's going to be won by Kanavi. There is this double onslaught for ppgod. Hits nobody, but JackeyLove is cut down. Joined with a huge shock blast. A fight on two fronts. Who's going to find the win? Can Kanavi get the reset? Does at 1 HP find himself a possession. And
again,
now could just continue to reset over and over again. It was a blinking health bar for Kanavi, but he gets 2 kills and gets out when he needed to most. And Shanji's just a little bit too late to the party. All the drinks are done. No more chips for you to find. You have to head back home with nothing.
Oh, and that really sucks on the back end of that fight. TES scatter to the wind, and you're now leaving 369 alone with the tower top lane, and plenty of damage to be able to do to it too, especially with the demolish right there. TES, their lead on this game was a little bit tenuous, but now they've put themselves in a much stronger position. Still, the feat is gonna go over.
Feats already. TS got feats off.
Oh
that
yeah, they
dragon
got
suit.
this Drake as well. Wow. Okay, so it doesn't even matter. Even better right here for TES and NIP. Oh, once again, they've fallen behind badly in an early game.
And the question on everyone's mind now is going to be, can TES convert this into a win? Because NIP, once again, do have some scaling threats to worry about. Any comp with a Senna and Zyra will be. But first, let's get a look back at Kanavi doing the high wire walk here with his health bar.
Yeah, I mean, you feel like Kanavi should die here multiple times. You know, he's getting jumped by so many people, but the second you get that first kill and you're able to steal away the body of the Scion, well, that helps, and another on top of the Senna, and it's the point at which this teleport comes in that this play just kind of goes from bad to worse. Shanji, there's nothing he can do to be able to actually help out his team in this one. Kind of just loses the teleport for no real benefit. 369, his is much closer to being back up and available, and 13 minutes into the game, there's going to be more and more objectives coming thick and fast in the coming minutes.
Be still very quiet. He's not playing champions that are designed to be quiet by any metric. Kali last game, this Jace this time around does have himself a gold lead, but we continue to ask the question, Bloxer, when are we going to see the LPL split MVP take over a game?
Yeah, we're still waiting.
Run out of time.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's going to be this one. We at least get one more after this, but, you know, Running out of time, not a good place to be in. Very aggressive. Does this work?
Leva's going to eat the stun here, then flash back, but he's getting hit by a True Shot Barrage, a Mystic Shot.
Oh,
JackeyLove is perfect on these spells, as making neny wary about doing anything.
They're all so low at this point. JackeyLove finally not under massive threat, getting enough space with the Ezreal and making it work to great effect. Is that the next set? I was going to say, next set of grubs? It should be the next set of grubs. We did end up seeing that final one taken away. So it looks like Kanavi is going to head up towards this set. Do they want another team fight, though? TES, they've been going pretty well so far. It's neny who I think are going to be a little bit reticent to start these fights up without being able to potentially get themselves a pick first. And this is kind of what I was worried about when I saw this Zyra. You fall, not behind necessarily, but you don't get yourself a good lead. You aren't really able to get into the backline to get these big ultis off, and you're not exactly getting full jumped in a way that you can use it as a disengage tool, because there's plenty of poke damage for TES. They don't have to go flying into the backline right at the very start. They can play these games out a little bit slower.
Shanji teleport costing them, is able to try and answer for this grub play. So TES can just take over this top side in 369, wants Doinby's number, throws him against the wall, gets the cooler in his face as well. Doinby has to flash away with no mana and no real impact still yet from the LPL split MVP.
Just still getting chased around in this game. It's also going to be the grubs going over to TES. Keeping themselves ahead in this game, expanding their gold lead further and further, exactly what we wanted to see from them in the previous game. Now, it was up until 20 minutes in the previous game where TES had a good time, were able to keep themselves in the lead, expand it even. Now, though, are they going to be able to? This composition, I think, makes it a little bit easier. It's very good at a straight-up front-to-back team fight, plenty of poke to start out with. 369, though, hitting a big Gnar into the backline, I think is going to be the key to really crack it open. That, or a gorgeous Shurima Shuffle out of Creme. Now, Creme hasn't been particularly flashy so far in this game. We haven't really been able to talk about him so far in this series, despite the fact he was one of our highlighted players coming into the day.
Yeah, our marquee matchup looks a little silly at this point, if I'm being real. Our two mid laners. But there's still much more time, and back to the point you were making here, the difference between Game 2 and Game 3 stylistically is neny in that last game had a comp with agency. This time around, they have to sit back and wait for TES to play into them. Maybe taking position here with some plans with Zyra and getting some Jace Shock Blast down is the only way they really can have agency in this game, but you can see TES just turned their attention to the mid-lane turret. ppgod's going in, but nobody connects with the Assemble. Also, Shanji flashed forward to root Creme up, but he does get the Emperor's Revive down. Big heal comes across lane. Don't get Creme. ppgod's far too low, and JackeyLove is just firing spell after spell. And 369 has the Mega and throws 3 into the wall. But where are the kills? We will finally drop over to JackeyLove and company. 369 put them all on a platter, but only one scrap was taken.
That was the Mega Gnar play I was looking for out of 369. Yeah, it doesn't end in the kills, but it has the same effect in this situation. You manage to pick yourself up the mid lane tier 1. You're just going to be able to turn this into another Drake, and that is sole point now for Top Esports. They're having a great time of it in this way. 3-0-1 for Kanavi, 4-1-4 for JackeyLove. The main carries that we needed to see pop off in this game have been able to do so, and this advantage just keeps getting expanded further and further. Have a look back at this one. Now, it's full engage right here from ppgod, but he doesn't hit anyone. He at least gets the flash out of Crisp, but that's the support for your opposition. And the fact that Creme lives here is just insane with this one. This is what we're looking for, right? Mega Gnar. It's really nice. It does blow the flash, but still, you get the double stun. Maybe there's not quite as much follow-up as I would have really liked, but still, it doesn't necessarily matter, and those blinking health bars that weren't kills this time around will be in 5 minutes time when second items are completed.
Yeah, if that Gnar play comes through before neny engage, when you have True Shot Barrage up, you have Creme's flash and Stream Shuffle, that's massacre.
Yeah, that's all of the kills going over immediately, and you can probably push for even more through the mid lane off of that play as well. As it stands, TES, they're going to head on over to another objective. They've really been in control of this one so far. Every single one of these objectives have gone over their way.
They're on soul points.
Yeah, it has not felt like neny have been able to get a foothold for themselves a second game running. Really unfortunate considering how good the game 1 was. 369.
Desperation. He's trying to pick off 369 on the side, who isn't a Meganar. They're dropping full combos onto this guy, and his health bar barely gets under half. Fortunately for NIP, though, there's no risk coming for 369, so it took a while. They do complete the pick play.
But
However,
what do they lose?
Yes, exactly. Tier 2 at the very least.
Not likely to lose too much more.
6 rounds. Look at all those mites.
Yeah, the mites are making it very easy to be able to push through these towers. Also getting a little bit of damage onto this mid lane tier 2. Not going to be able to take it down, but actually the amount of damage that you are currently seeing JackeyLove do to what is a relatively tanky Sion. I mean, he's got as many items as everybody else does in this game. Hasn't really been playing support in the traditional sense of it.
This is where I'm going to push up my League nerd glasses for a second here, because Ezreal is my Forte champion of choice when I decide to pretend that I can play this game well and I don't cast for a reason. Regardless, my point here. Big power spike for Ezreal's now. More mana done for JackeyLove. His mana pool's not a big issue.
Yep.
So much safety with the CDR he gets, especially once he gets the Shojin going. So JackeyLove is in such a good big spot. And this is the top esports we were advertised after their thromping of IG. And it's fitting that it's when we get Kanavi and JackeyLove back in the form from that game, or that series.
Yeah, exactly. It's the point at which these top tier carries.
That was Ruinous again.
Yes, it was. So nothing too exciting happens. Like you said, the big XP lead is really going to be the only thing, but there were already massive XP leads between everybody else. This is my issue right here with the Senna. I don't necessarily think the Senna's bad. I just don't like it on Leave. Yeah. Leave was so exciting in the first 2 games, and now he's so boring. There's nothing to really talk. Like, oh, you managed to hit a stun? Yay!
Good 2-man heal, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. And you're helpful. You're good. You're doing good things for your team, but it's not single put your team on your back levels of carry. Not unless this game goes for 50 to 60 minutes and you're so high up in stacks that you can begin to one-tap people. We're so far away from that point, and the game is being lost right now. Real questionable decision out of NIP. We'll see if potentially it changes in game number 4. For right now, though, TES, they're going to continue to establish themselves control in all 3 lanes as well. Praise be. I have seen so many teams recently only play through 2 lanes and just ignore the fact that there's a top or a bot lane to try to play through as well. Really like the TES are pushing through every single one, because it just makes it that much harder for NIP to respond to everything. They're getting pulled all around. My god, JackeyLove.
And yeah, it's finally TES playing the comp they drafted for well, because you look across it, right? It is hard to lock down Creme, 369, and JackeyLove, especially when they all have flash up. They've got dashes available, they have flashes available, and you are playing a team that is designed to turtle. It is death by 1,000 cuts right now, and once again, while there were mistakes made in Game 2 for TES, it is a huge sign to see that they are back in control of a game and playing exactly the strengths of the draft.
Exactly. Creme now going to teleport down into the mid lane. JackeyLove stepping up once again.
Just chunking them all out, and Creme's going for a big play. There's the stream and shuffle you wanted. Surazaki up on a silver platter and leaving ppgod.
Yes.
You guys are going the wrong way. Up a creek with no paddle. Gray screens galore. TES have broken open a very important game number 3.
The only issue with that play is it happens a minute and a half early, so you don't have a Baron to go and play around. Instead, it looks like mid lane tier 3 is going to be the focus. Like you said, the 6 grubs early on are going to make short work of these towers. Mid lane inhibitor falls 23 minutes into this game, and you can peel back to go pick yourself up Soul as well. TES, they are in firm control of this game. Sure, they didn't have the best time of it in the late stages last time. I don't think it's going to be the same here. NIP, desperation.
It's just too little, too late. They have a teleport coming behind, but JackeyLove, he's in his comfort zone right now. He's in between a flank, and he does not care. ppgod, you've got no friends in front of you anymore. No friends left in the industry. Just another trip to the fountain on Expedition. And the Soul should be the turn here for TES. A Soul before Baron even spawns. Nothing really encapsulates the dominance more than that very sentence.
No, this is one of the most dominant games I've seen in a while TES have been able to just dismantle everything that NIP wanted to do for themselves. You've got a couple of kills in this game, 3 of them only for NIP. And other than that, kind of nothing. Couple towers, that's it. They are so far down in gold at this point. Over, or not quite, nearly 10k in the lead as well for TES. The gold graph really isn't going to look like a roller coaster as it has in the previous couple of games. So now we ask the question, can TES close out a game cleanly?
If they can't close this one out cleanly, I mean, I'm already predicting 3-0 BLG.
Yeah, exactly. You've got to be able to get these kind of leads and close them out. And if not, oh boy, yeah, you're in trouble.
But looking forward here, right, and taking in what we've seen from the last 2 series, I think this is just such a massive break point for the tempo of these 2 teams. We might have to save that conversation because there's been a trap set, and Aki has strangle-thorned himself right into it. Pretty sure Aki and Zyra are supposed to be the ones that are in control of the Venus flytraps, but it's TES that set one and knocked down Aki. And, hey, look, the Purple Worm's off-spawn. And we have Ocean Soul, goddammit. Why don't we just take it?
Yeah, there is no real threat to TES right now, barring the craziest play you've ever seen.
This is just desperation.
Creme actually gets caught.
He does have the stasis, though. Will get jumped on. He should go down, but he isn't the focal point carry. It's Kanavi and JackeyLove who take down the Purple Worm, and they're still bloodthirsty for more. JackeyLove and company flying on forward. It might be wrapped up right here with the Baron, Nasher, and Grubs. Leave on the Senna has to watch his base crumble, and when they're needed most, JackeyLove and Kanavi came to play and give TES their most dominating win of the playoffs so far to put themselves onto match point for a date with Billy Gaming.
NIP, it took 45 minutes to win, so lose last time. 26 on this one. TES domination from the very start to the very end of that one. That's the kind of game we needed from top. That is exactly what we were asking for. Every single lane was able to play that one out incredibly impressively off of a very weird early game. Lots of people in lots of different lanes. But TES, they didn't care. It was NIP starting that off. They didn't mind it at all. They were able to weather that storm and turn it into a dominating win.
And I didn't get to make the point there because the game ended, but to revisit it, Bloxer, why I think this is such a breaking point for this series, and I honestly feel like it might be a 3-1 from here. We look back at the series before. When TES looked best, it was putting Kanavi and JackeyLove in positions to carry home, like you just saw. And on the flip side, when we saw NIP at their worst, it was handicapping themselves with drafts with their best players. And like the Leave Senna, I know Kelsey shouted out as one of the awesome historians, like JackeyLove is a really good Senna player. But again, going back to the taking Doinby's Akali into Creme, like, you can take away these picks, but it doesn't matter if they're just handicapping you harder.
Yeah. If you don't play it to the level of your opponent, they're going to be happy with that. That's a win for your opponent right here, and nothing encapsulates that more than this Senna. It's in a weird place in the meta right now where, like, I've seen it get success, but I've seen it get success on teams who don't play around their bot lane anyway. And maybe you could have described NIP as that team previously.
Yeah. Not
sure
now.
as heck, not in this series. Not today. Today, this is the sort of game where Leave is feeling himself, he wants to go in, but you're on Senna. It doesn't matter. He wasn't able to find those big plays. Game 1, he pops off, it's incredible. Game 2, he nearly pulls it back for his team. Game 3, they basically box him in themselves, and TES, they just walk all over them.
And even the rest of the roster, right? I mean, you were singing the praise of ppgod in game number 1 when he got to play a straight engage route and be super impactful. You put him on Scion duty where he has to scramble to figure out an early game where he's just giving up deaths, never gets any tempo. Really, ever since game 1, we haven't seen any of these ex-OMG guys and Doinby have any sort of tempo. It is hard to think NIP are going to find any way back into the series unless they have something really, really well planned for game 4. Their potential last game of this LPL split.
Exactly. We were talking about maybe if the Engage aggressive junglers were running out. Well, it kind of felt like it was, right?
Yeah.
The Zyra wasn't good, but then again, none of this looked good right here out of NIP. It didn't feel like a single one of their picks really had the impact they needed. Look at the damage difference. Look at the goal graph. As we said, pretty smooth curve straight on down to a TES win. And yeah,
such an easy game for JackeyLove.
He was
this
chilling.
is. I mean, if you're like BLG, when we're going back to tape here, like the tape on TES is kind of already shown. At least in the fact that if you let JackeyLove get comfortable in a comfortable draft, like look at this replay, man. He's fighting over melons, doesn't die, and
He's
later
manaless.
he's monolith, and later he's gonna like flash chase down a support when he knows he gets flanked. Like if you let JackeyLove get a draft like this, you deserve to lose.
Good night. Yeah. JackeyLove is one of those names that everybody across the globe who's into League of Legends esports knows, and for a very good reason. He can just do this to your teams. But we saw in the previous two games that were much harder to play out for top, when he's made uncomfortable, when you've got the sort of composition that can dive into the backline and make sure JackeyLove can't start feeling himself in these games, it's so much easier. TS, they're nearly able to pull that game back with the Varus. It wasn't working nowhere near as well as this one for JackeyLove. The Ezreal is now gone, so that is going to be a good thing right here. But, I mean, in terms of back to the drawing board, this is the most version of that. This was the sort of composition that I get the theory, but the practice, hamstringing your own best players, not having good ways of being able to engage these fights, being in a pretty just like meh position from the very start of the game. Don't do that to yourself. I want to see more aggression. I want 5 games between these teams. But I think your point about momentum is probably right. This one feels a little bit like NIP were floundering, and they never found a way back into it.
Their top side is just not found any mojo. Even when they drafted 4 solo lane staff to be the carries, because that was the plan here. I mean, you got a B1 Jace on blue side. That's a premier LPL pick. You got the Renekton for Shanji. But where are they in any point in this game?
Shanji teleports down into the bottom lane fight at some point, and
watches everybody drive away.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's there. He certainly was a part of that team fight. That was sort of the best that could be said, which is so counter to what was happening in Game 1. Game 1 out of this team was so much fun. It was a really good look from them overall. Yeah, obviously you can't pick up the same composition. That's the joys and the issues with this sort of best of 5 fearless.
Yep.
But there are other champions that can dive into the backline. There are other ways that you can play this sort of aggressive style for NIP and really get TES uncomfortable. I think that's the thing. Yeah, JackeyLove, well-deserved for that MVP. They need to make him uncomfy. He cannot just get to play his game. When he does, he takes over.
Raising the Sky's LPL royalty. He showed it in what was the most important game for TES of the split so far. But the stakes and the pressure on NIP could not be higher. This was a first seed team, Group D topping team, with the LPL split MVP, who has been quiet, near silent in this series at points, along with the rest of this roster. And there's only one way to get back. That is bringing us to Silver Scrapes, going the distance. But to get there, they're going to have to find a win that we think is almost momentumless in game number 4. We'll see what they've got drawn up for the potential final game of the split. Or does TES have a date with BLG? Find out more.